Hi everyone, welcome to this new video on integrated circuits. In the previous video, we were discussing about stages in IC fabrication. And we have finished two stages, that is material preparation and crystal growing. And now we are going into the third stage of IC fabrication, that is wafer fabrication. It is a very important step where we will be printing the circuit onto a silicon wafer. So let us learn about it. Wafer fabrication is the procedure of printing a predetermined or pre-designed integrated circuit onto a wafer. So here you can see a wafer, and this wafer will be holding many number of identical circuits on it, and each of these identical circuits will be part of an IC. So after fabricating the patterning all these identical structures, this wafer will be sliced into individual circuits, and each of these individual circuit will be part of an IC chip. So this procedure of printing any circuit that has been designed onto a wafer is called a planar process. So that planar process why it is called planar is because everything happens on a single plane, that is the plane of the wafer, and it is a two-dimensional plane where you will be creating two-dimensional circuits on it. All these things are happening on a singular plane, so that is why this process is called a planar process, and it involves 7 steps. And 7 steps, it's not a sequential steps, like oxidation should be followed by diffusion. It's not like that. It depends upon what kind of thing you are going to fabricate. If it is a transistor, the step sequence will be different for that of a MOSFET, from that of a MOSFET, or from that of a 555 IC, or from a 741 operational amplifier. So each of the IC will be having its own protocol in generating its structure on the wafer. So sometimes it will be like oxidation followed by etching, followed by photolithography, followed by epitaxy. Depends upon, or any number of repetitions of these processes. So it depends upon what kind of device you are going to fabricate, the structure of the device, etc. That is about the 7 steps and the planar process, and we have to seriously go into each of these processes involved in wafer fabrication. Here you can see a single piece of Intel Core i7 processor. So this one piece is called a die. So that comes as a small part of a single wafer. So a wafer will be hosting millions of this kind of dies. So here on the left hand side you can see an Intel Core i7 processors die, and on the right hand side you get NVIDIA GTX graphics controller. Its in the internal structure is given. So these are all colored because all these features are in the range of optical wavelengths. So that is why it will be acting as a optical diffraction grating. So that is why all these regions are giving different colors like rainbow, just like the case of CDs and DVDs. Now let us go to the oxidation stage. So the process of growing a thin layer of silicon dioxide on the surface of a silicon wafer is called oxidation. So the reason for growing a thin layer of silicon dioxide is that silicon dioxide, as you all know, is an insulator. So whenever you need some insulator onto it, you don't go for any other type of insulator. You have silicon, you just oxidize it. So the procedure for oxidation is given here. There are two procedures. One is called a dry method. The other one is called a wet method. So the dry method is very good. It gives out a very thin layer of oxidized silicon of thickness of 10 nanometers also, and it has good electrical properties, but the problem is it is a process which is very slow, but it is very good for making gate oxide in MOSFET devices. So it is a very precise thing, but it takes some time, and the thickness is you can have features of size of 10 nanometers. The wet method is used for creating thicker layers of oxidation, and the approximate thickness is around 500 nanometers or so. So it is used for making isolations and passivation in ICs. So let us see what is isolation and passivation. So there are four uses basically for oxidation. The first is to serve as a mask against implant or diffusion of dopants. Silicon, we will not be using silicon as it is. We will be doping certain regions. We will be doping as some regions as N-type materials or P-type materials, or the doping concentrations can vary on a single piece of silicon wafer, and that is done through a process of doping. So how do you dope? You expose some dopants onto the silicon wafer. If you want to have a certain region being doped with p-type material, then you need to make sure that the other regions are not getting doped in the process. So what you do is you make a mask where the mask will be having a hole through which the dopants can enter and get into the silicon layers. So silicon dioxide can act as a mask against diffusion of dopants. So silicon dioxide will not allow dopants through it. But if there is hole in the silicon dioxide layer, as you can see here, here it is a silicon dioxide layer. So silicon is here, silicon wafer is here. You can see a top layer, and that is silicon dioxide layer. So if there is a small hole in the silicon dioxide layer, then if it is subjected to the dopants, then that dopants can enter into the silicon substrate only through that hole. The silicon dioxide will act as a barrier against the implantation or diffusion of dopants. Or dopants can easily penetrate silicon, but it cannot easily penetrate silicon dioxide layer. That is the core of the first point. The second thing is to provide surface passivation. Surface passivation is a method to reduce environmental problems of ICs. ICs are very sensitive equipments. So if you created some circuit on it and it is exposed to ambient conditions, then that will get damaged. So in order to have a protective layer onto the already fabricated thing, you give a passivation layer. So the silicon dioxide is very inert and it is environmentally stable. So the silicon dioxide will act as a passivation layer over our active circuit. So that is our second point. The third point is to isolate one device from another. In a wafer, there will be millions of transistors. So we need to isolate one transistor from the other transistor. So how we are doing that? That is through oxidation layers. So we'll be having oxidized regions between two circuits, two transistors, or two devices on a single wafer. So that is how we'll be isolating one active element from the other active element. The fourth one is to act as a component in most structures. There are cases when you need insulators, for example, to fabricate capacitors or to fabricate a MOSFET device where you have a gate oxide layer. So in order to have that, you need to have some insulator. So silicon dioxide is a very good insulator, and it is used for the fabrication of gate oxide layers in most structures. So you can see here the process of oxidation, where you have a container where the silicon wafers will be vertically stacked with a wafer on a wafer board, and this is a process tube where it is heated by resistance heaters to around a temperature of 1000 degrees centigrade also. And if you are performing a dry etching, then you will be using oxygen, nitrogen, etc., a combination of these gases, and that will be pumped into the or allowed into the process tube, and the silicon wafers will get oxidized in the process by getting exposed to the oxidizing gases. And all these procedures will be controlled by a computer. The computer will be controlling whether to insert a particular silicon wafer, when to insert a particular silicon wafer, when to take it out. All those parameters, how the temperature, the flow of gases, everything will be monitored by a computer, and it will be controlled by a computer. So there is no mechanical or humanly action needed for this. So all these are protocols made by empirical studies and theoretical studies, and based on that those studies, this protocol has been made, and the exhaust is given out through this vent. So this is the process of oxidation. The second process that we are going to learn is called etching. It is the process of selective removal of regions of a semiconductor, metal, or silicon dioxide. Basically, there are cases when you require some of the material being removed from the structure. For example, in the previous case, I said about making a hole on the silicon dioxide layer. How can you make a hole on silicon dioxide layer? So that is done using etching. So the etching process is a process by which you can selectively remove. If you want to make a square hole, you can make a square hole. If you want to make a round hole, then you can make a round hole. Or you can, if you want to have a longitudinal channel, then you can make a longitudinal channel. Whatever pattern that you want to make on the silicon dioxide layer, you can do it by etching out. So that is the process of removal of any material. It can be semiconductor, metal, or silicon dioxide. So there are two kinds of etching. One is called wet etching, the other one is called dry etching. In the case of dry etching, you can see here it is a dry etching unit where the wafer is held on a chuck, and there will be a cathode here, and that will be generating a plasma with respect to an anode, and there will be an ion beam in this, and this high energy ions will be accelerated towards the wafer, and that wafer will be subjected to a lot of bombardment from ions. So these ions can give its kinetic energy to the underlying layer, and it can knock off the atoms from the structure. So that is how you will be etching. And the second kind of etching is called wet etching. Here what we are going to do is we are going to subject the silicon wafer to a liquid, and the liquid will be removing the required material from the silicon substrate. There are chemicals that are that can be used to remove each of the material. If you want to remove silicon dioxide, you need to use hydrofluoric acid. If you want to remove silicon, you need to use potassium hydroxide. If you want to remove chromium, then you require hydrochloric acid. If you want to remove gold, you require aqua regia. So each of these materials can be removed using its own corresponding etchants. So if you want to remove silicon, then you will be using KOS. Here it is KOS being used in this figure. The comparison between dry etching and wet etching goes like this. Dry etching will be using a plasma phase, but wet etching you will be using a liquid phase. You can see here it is a potassium hydroxide solution. Here it is an ionized plasma. And dry etching will be having gaseous phase chemicals, so everything that is going to be reactive will be in gaseous form. And in the case of wet etching, it is liquid phase. In the case of dry etching, it is safer than wet etching, and that is because in the case of wet etching, a lot of hazardous chemicals are coming out, and dry etching is more precise due to anisotropy. Anisotropy means that if you are making some circuit, for example, in this case, so if you want to have a precise sharp cut, you have to go for dry etching, because it is ionized gas that is accelerated towards the wafer, and it makes a vertical impact on the structure. So it will be vertically removing, but in the case of a liquid, it will be reacting with its surrounding in an isotropic way. So it will be having an isotropic nature. So it will be reacting to all the directions. So any chemical that is reaching here, it will react here, it will react in this direction. Everywhere it will be contributing to reaction. So the sides will not be exactly rectangular. It will be somewhat rounded. So that is the problem in wet etching. The precision is an issue due to isotropic nature of done by etchants chemicals. And dry etching uses few chemicals, and wet etching uses a lot of chemicals. Dry etching is it uses few chemicals because the chamber itself is vacuum chamber, and you give only a few gases to get ionized. The technology in the case of dry etching is expensive, and in the case of wet etching, it just needs a chemical bath, that's all. So it's inexpensive when compared with the dry etching. With this, we can stop this video, and we'll meet in another video with then other techniques or the other procedures that are used in planar process. Thank you all.